So I was watching television the other night, and it shocked me.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
It's great to have you aboard. Thank you very much for tuning in to the broadcast. I'll tell you what I meant by that in just a second. Just an update. We've certainly got a turbulent environment with the homeless situation right now in the community, and too much disparity still between what advocates and agencies will say the number of people who are homeless every single night and what the governor's administration is ready to say they think is true. And then, of course, we've got the move that the governor made on the Esplanade this morning, if you're watching this on Friday, and a couple of mornings ago if you're watching this on Sunday. We record this show on Thursday afternoons, and so we're in the middle of what could happen tomorrow, real time for us, not real time for you. And so to follow up on the conversation, I just thought it would be incongruent to try to do that. So next week we will follow up on the conversation that we had last week on the homeless plight. Let me just say, I believe that the governor is working in good faith to get this thing done. I think the agencies, for the most part, quietly are working in really good faith to get this thing done, but there are some players who would rather bang the drum than get to it, and we're going to see if we can break out the difference between the two next week. But it's getting colder. At the end of the day, you know, territory and turf and politics and power and authority and, you know, who's doing what where, who gets credit for this and that, all are of little significance to the people who need the help. And that's got to be remembered throughout this entire process. In the meantime, I'm really happy to have my guest this evening. You'll meet him in just a second. So I'm watching, I think, the football game the other night, and a commercial comes on, and it just, well, it stopped me. Here it is.
If you knew that mixing drugs and alcohol might make you 200 times more likely to cause a crash than a sober driver, would you not? Don't drive drunk, don't drive high, and try to stop someone who is.
Hey girl, what happened? Hey, don't forget to pick up the pizza.
I can't tell you how profound I think that is. Mr. Director, Peter Alviti is with us. He is the director of our State Department of Transportation. And thankfully, a guy who's comfortable in the outreach. In fact, you unsolicitedly called the radio program the other day when I was talking about this because you felt it was important to bring context to it. Thank you for joining me. Good to see you.
I appreciate it as much as you do, Dan.
Look, I think it is a tribute to the creative effort in that commercial that I was horrified by it. Mm-hmm. And I think what horrified me most is the guy on the other line, seemingly the boyfriend, you know, and then she's dead as a doornail. Eyes wide open, lacerations. A horrifying message. One I can't argue isn't legitimate to offer, but still stunning in its, I don't know what the term I want to use is, aggressive approach. So
aggressive is a good word.
Yeah, let's just talk about it. I mean, I have you on not for criticism, but for commiseration over this. Immediate reaction on the spot itself, and then let's go back to what has been your background charge on all of this, because you really have seemingly made quite a bit of progress on the matter. So when you see that spot, you say what to yourself?
Well, I think it's dead on. I didn't mean the pun.
I get it.
Didn't mean the pun, but it is right on message for what we are trying to convey to people. the number of people we lose on an annual basis to something as senseless as people making the wrong decision and getting behind the wheel drunk or under the influence of drugs is absolutely senseless. There's absolutely no need for it. And it is when we look at the things that we could do as a government to try and make life safer for the people who travel on our highways. You know, we try and build them to be safe, but we also try to make it the culture and the ability to travel on the highways and roadways safe for people. The easiest thing to do that we could see to immediately take, for example, more than half of the number of people that are dying in accidents are dying because of drunk driving or driving under the influence. For us, the easiest pickings is to deter people from doing that, to try and deter people. Now, for decades, we looked at the happy jingles and the trite sayings that you would try to have people remind, don't drink and drive, buckle up for safety, you know, and all of those nice little jingles. But it was clear to us when we tried to take a fresh look at this, you know, and say, it's apparently not working. Because the number of people each year who died as a result of drunk driving was increasing. So all of the nice jingles and all of the advertising and money that was being spent to try and change culture was not working. So we tried to take a more serious look at what is it that people would hear and see that would have them react in a positive way, either to themselves, not get behind the wheel and drive drunk, or to stop other people from doing that, or at least make our community aware of how many people are dying this way and how preventable it is.
What are the numbers? Do we know?
So yeah, in the last several years, we have had, let's see, 65 people die in 21, 59 in, I'm sorry, 65 in 20, 59 in 21, and this year so far, 46. Now, the numbers are trending downward, but that's half of those people who died in accidents, or automobile accidents, half of them died as a result of drunk drivers. So more than any other kind
Either
of
themselves
causation.
or being victims of the drinking.
Either
Another
themselves
vehicle
or
they
another
collided with.
vehicle, many of them being a victim of somebody else making the wrong decision. We have many cases where the drunk drivers themselves, the offenders, live, and their victims, who are the innocent people in other cars, die.
So listen, I want to make sure everybody understands. There's complete consensus here on this set as to how important this is. I, for years, literally for 2 decades, have been doing in cooperation with the state police back when corporate liability wasn't such a concern by companies. We would do the July 4th or holiday, get a half a dozen people drunk on their favorite booze, have them walk the line, the Intoxilizer 5,000, all in an effort to, in different heights, shapes, sizes, different amounts of drink, so people got an orientation as to what it was. Yep. And so I've been on this case for quite some time, and I'm with you, and I get, by the way, that some of the more happy messaging on this whole thing wasn't resonating.
No.
This reminds me very much of the tobacco commercial trend that I think did make a big dent in smoking, right? Especially that woman, we remember her, and the emphysema that she had in the hole in her throat.
Still remember it,
Still,
right?
we remember it.
Yeah.
This particular, I mean, listen, as a parent of a 20-something, mid-20s-something daughter, I looked at that thing, and for some reason, it just went right through me. It just absolutely went right through me to see her staring, gone, and still a live person on the other end, unwitting. The creative needs to be acknowledged is almost award-winning.
Yep.
It's not about that, though. It's about the shock factor.
It's about the reaction.
And who should see that.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we should talk about the placement. And by the way, this ripple effect campaign that's going on, has a multi-messaging objective. We'll be right back.
When you're driving, reaction time is very important. If you've been drinking, that impairs your reaction time. Now, if you add drugs to that equation, even marijuana, you are decreasing your reaction time even more. How do we know? Because of the dead and injured who tested positive for multiple substances. In fact, you are 200 times more likely to cause a crash than a sober driver. Don't drive drunk, don't drive high, and try to stop someone who is.
So that part of the campaign, and there's another ad or two, Dr. Rodriguez and him juggling, the different aspects of
attention
or stuff that you can put into your system too. That message is important because we just legalized pot.
Yes.
Right. So the timing of this is essential.
And it was measured. It was we intended it to be this way.
And even the girl spot, the deceased young lady, she's smoking something early on. So
Yes.
she's compounding. She's not having 3 beers and getting on the road. She's wasted.
She made it even worse. She was wasted
Pills.
with pills and apparently with alcohol, but also distracted.
Right.
Which are probably the 3 of the top deadliest kinds of activities that you could participate in and get behind the wheel of a car. When you get behind the wheel of a car.
You concerned about this legalization of cannabis?
Of course we are.
I know law enforcement is feeling like they don't have a Intoxilizer 5000 mechanism to actually prove lack of sobriety. So that's something that they're concerned about.
Well,
what
we're
about
working with them on that, and in the same way we did with the sobriety testing, that we provide training for about 300 new recruits every year. DOT provides the funding and the training for sobriety testing. Likewise, we're doing the training in the funding of the drug enforcement and detection units, of which we have about 80 or so officers that we've trained so far. But we're working with the enforcement sector in trying to make also the drug detection part of the regular new recruit.
What is the skill set? Have you been able to, other than administrating the process, have you been able to dig into the actual informational content and logistics that the training provides to troopers and other officers to actually be able to delineate between those who are really stoned or not? What is it?
There are indicators. I don't know them personally. I'm not part of the training unit, but there are metrics and signs that give a very good detection of whether or not somebody is under the, of course, somebody is driving erratically, first indicator, right? So then it could be one of several things. It could be under the influence of alcohol, under the influence of drugs, or maybe a medical emergency, right? And there are signs and signals and questions and responses.
Yeah, but it's all reflective of the same routine. It's drawn. It's the line. It's this. It's the. You ask them to do the alphabet backwards, and if they're stupid enough to do it, they're drunk anyway. Because anybody who's right. I mean, all those tricks of the trade. Yeah. I think the challenge with the cannabis is that there is no machine that gives you that breath test alcohol, blood alcohol level per se, that gives you a calculation that's easily evidenced in court. So there's some defense lawyers who are going to have a field day with this.
There are, but as we develop better techniques at detection, and those techniques in the detection are correlated with actual testing, then I think that body of evidence will come together, and everybody is working toward that, to formulate that now. It would have been nice if we started doing it years ago, but we didn't, but we're doing it now. And our goal is to have, in the same way we have the sobriety testing methodology that is readily recognized in court as evidence that somebody was driving drunk, so are we trying to develop now the same kind of methodologies that will be provable and usable in court that will be upheld. So
going back, because
we'll get there.
I want to check on. I can't talk to you without talking about some road work, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
we got to
right,
do that.
right.
All pun intended. Road works. That's been beat into our head. Good brand, no
Yeah,
doubt about it.
it is.
Environment for these ads. I mean, the second one that we just played is not so bad.
No.
I mean, the first one shocks me. Are we being careful about where we place those ads?
Yeah, you know, we put that in the hands of, we've partnered with the private sector, you know,
Right.
Dante Bellini, RDW Group, Phil Lasco, and they've done an incredible job. For the last 7 years, they've been working with us on the kind of continued messaging aimed at different kind of targets out there. This one was aimed specifically at the abusers. In fact, they had a focus group that they brought in, and they discussed, and this was a focus group of offenders, people who had violations, who make it a practice of drinking and driving or using drugs and driving. And they worked with them and tried to garner from their interaction from them what things might affect their decision making if they saw it in an ad.
Like, they're not easily shockable, or,
Right.
so this was a result of research that even they would have the right response.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And because while we aimed it at different kinds of segments of the population, our advertising previous to this one is aimed specifically at the abusers. And the focus group, you know, came up with some ideas of their own as to what might affect them and help them make the right decision if they saw it. And that one, with the young woman who actually ends up dying in the accident, was at the top of the prototypes.
Well, I'm glad that there's at least you know, some common ground there. Look, at the end of the day, I applaud the work. I'm shocked by the ad.
Yeah.
I guess for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I think about the families who've been victimized by this, with young people who've ended up that way, whose parents now and other family members, when seeing this ad, have to visualize that's exactly what happened to my child.
Yeah.
It pains me that they have to experience that. It seems to me that you've got consensus amongst most of them that they want that message out there. Correct?
You have all the right reactions. Your reactions here that you're describing to me are the reactions that we want everyone that watches this to have, so that either they themselves, if they don't get behind the wheel and drive themselves, that they see this and they have those feelings that you just described, and the outrage or the shock. And if they see someone they love or they're friends with about to make that wrong decision, might act upon that and keep those people from making that wrong decision. And also, for the people who actually do this on a regular basis, have the same reaction that you did.
By the way, you can go to the DOT website, which is dot.ri.us, and I'm guessing you can download these ads.
Yes, you can.
You know, it wouldn't be the worst idea. I'm coming full circle here. It wouldn't be the worst idea to have one of them on your phone.
Yes.
Because you could be at a New Year's Eve party and someone's smashed, and take a look at it and show it to them, and maybe it changes behavior.
We're hoping that in fact is exactly the scenario that takes place.
All right. I only got like 4 or 5 minutes to tackle like 12 construction projects. When we come back, stay with us. I'm doing Ask the DOT. By the way, the director is on with Gene Valicenti, weekly on WPRO, having a field day. And boy, you could go on like all day, every day with people calling in with issues. But this one had everyone kind of befuddled. The 195 westbound traffic flow. I'm trying to figure out what work they're doing in the middle there. What's the short answer on how long that divider will be in place?
So the divider will be in place for about 1.5 years. Yep. We're having to rebuild an old bridge that is structurally deficient, one of the biggest bridges that we have, and it doesn't appear to be a bridge when you're riding over
No.
it, because it's like a 5-lane highway, right?
Right.
But there's a bridge structure that's going over water, you know,
Right.
and that water decays the structure, and
Sure.
over the years it has, like many of our bridges, right? So we've got to repair this, and we don't have the luxury here at the Washington Bridge. Number one, we don't have the luxury of being able to build a new bridge aside this one, and then in one day just shift everybody over the new bridge. There's no room to do it.
I get it.
And
Must be an incredible gig, by the way, to initiate projects which you know are going to be anywhere from 6 months to 6 years and bearing fruit. Like, show me the six, if you can, Eric, pop that one up. I was just talking general here. I will tell you that I hadn't been over on the west side of town for a while until I came from, where was I? It was at Roger Williams Park, and I had to get over to Johnston somewhere. I don't know where I was, but I got on.
Yep.
That's like Disney. That ramp is so cool.
Isn't it
But at
nice?
least the ramp is fun. Right, the new six. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know
the
how.
flyover.
Will there be new ramp? Is that the only high arcing ramp that'll be
that's
part of this
the only
project?
one. That's the only
It's
one.
actually quite fun.
It is. It is.
You better
and
be sober
it's quite-
driving it, trying to tie the two concepts
Well, you
together
know,
right away.
the suggestion is to make sure that you are sober driving.
Yeah, no
it,
kidding.
But,
Period.
But it also saves a hell of a lot of time, because in the past, before that flyover went, it was never built as part of the original 610 interchange. And you would have to get off the highway, go through Audeville, and get back on to Route 6
It's
West.
a marvel, though.
Yeah.
You know, come back and we'll actually do some projects. And by the way, we're well overdue to have a knockdown, drag-out brawl on roadworks and the tolls. You know,
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
You know,
You and I have always had
this
differing-
agreeing on everything in one show is making me very nervous.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Look, they all serve their purpose. You know, the Washington Bridge is a massive project. We have many projects that we're now doing.
And 95 North downtown is a big thing right
multi-year projects.
Yeah.
Which, you know, there are so many moving parts. But the good news is now we've got a group of people that look at those big projects, and we know before we start a project exactly what the various moves are going to entail.
now. Yeah, it's very detailed. By the way,
Yep.
thank you, and thank you for the campaign. Merry Christmas to you. Thanks.
Thank you. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas.
Final word and we come back. Stay with us. Again, go to the DOT website, download these ads, have them available at the right time, talk to your kids about them, because you know what? Well, just look at them. I think it speaks for itself. You have a great weekend. Back on the homeless thing next week. See ya.